Hello there. Yo, my chat's not connected. This is concerning. There we are. Breaking news, everybody, this morning. Welcome. Good morning. So slept all day last night. So now I'm up early. Slept all day, woke up at like 8 p.m. and here we are at 6 a.m. streaming. So what a night, gentlemen. What can we say? So apparently, the deal between Canada and U.S. fell through at midnight, and the Prime Minister has released a statement. We're going to read it. Carney announced the suspension between following U.S. revisions. Let's just read his statement, shall we? Instead of the AI overview. Statement from Mark Carney himself. Over the past 18 months, Canada's new government has focused on building our strength at home, diversifying our partnerships abroad, and striking a fair deal with the United States. Our objective is our trade negotiations. Our objectives in our trade negotiations have two. Oh, he's just going to throw them all out there. Okay. One, preserve tariff-free access to the U.S. for the vast majority of Canadian businesses. That's not happening, brother. What? Provide greater stability to our trade relationship. Significantly reduce U.S. tariffs on our key strategic industries so that Canadian businesses in these sectors would have the best access of the world, of any in the world. Protect our small and medium-sized businesses, the lifeblood of our economy, the small businesses, including by removing the immediate threat of new tariffs and maintaining our flexibility, independence, and sovereignty so we can keep building the Canada we want. Okay. So what I get out of that, the first one is tariff-free access to the U.S. Vast majority. The tariffs are coming, brother. I don't know what Canadian... Because the thing is like, this isn't Mark Carney. This is the capitalists of Canada. Clearly, it's more profitable for Canada to retaliate with tariffs and take on that instead of capitulating to whatever deal they were striking, I guess. Yeah. Significantly reduce U.S. tariffs on our key strategic industries. That was like steel, metal, autos, aluminum. Anyway, let's continue. We have recognized from the beginning that America has changed and that we will not return to our old relationship. Our government understood before many that America is altering all of its trade relationships, putting tariffs on its closest allies and charging for access to its vast market. We have worked in that context to strike a fair deal that would provide the best access to the U.S. market and greater certainty to Canadian businesses and workers. Throughout, our goal has been to secure the best deal for Canadians, never a deal at any price or on any deadline. And that seems very telling. Never strike a deal at any price at any deadline. Clearly, the two parties are so far apart. But geez, that's kind of just saying like, Trump, right? Oh, Trump, because he's just going to do what he wants, is the general sense. In recent weeks, we have made important progress towards improving Canada's position as having the best deal in the world with the U.S. However, that progress has not been enough to meet our objectives for Canadians. As a result, this evening I've decided to suspend trade negotiations with the U.S. and have directed Canada's negotiators to return to Ottawa. They have worked hard in good faith to defend the interests of Canadians throughout these negotiations up until the very last minute. However, last-minute changes in the U.S. proposed terms were unfair, uneconomic, and called into question the reliability of any deal. Okay. I wonder what that would be. Clearly, that's insane. So, because literally, Trump was like, "We have a deal," and then I guess, what they came back and was like, "Was more shit." At midnight tonight, the U.S. intended to impose a 50% tariff on roughly 28 billion of Canadian goods. Canada will match those tariffs dollar for dollar to protect our workers and businesses. It's only for the latter there, not the former. In the coming days, the government will introduce additional measures to support Canadian workers and businesses, building on the nearly 25 billion in support provided over the past 18 months. Which just means, so listen, my tax dollars get to go to the private market because businesses are failing. So my tax dollars are going to provide failing businesses help because they can't cope with 50% tariffs. Okay, that sounds like a great plan. These actions complement Canada's core economic strategy. From day one, we have been focused on building our strength at home and diversifying our partnerships abroad. That strategy is working. We are advancing nearly 500 billion in major infrastructure projects. In parallel, we are unlocking new export markets for Canadian businesses. One thing I have noticed about Canadian propaganda, they love the term unlocking, unleashing. Those two terms are like, just get Canadians soothing at the mouth. I don't know why. Our existing free trade deals already provide Canada with preferential access to 1.5 billion consumers, and we are on track to double that market access by the end of this year. Let's continue. Canadian economic growth is accelerating, and we are on course to have the second fastest growth in the G7 over the next 2 years. That's amazing. Too bad I'm not a capitalist. So all the workers who you just said, the workers, you get to keep your job, workers, WW workers. But I guarantee you, nobody will be like, in like however many 2 years, 3 years. I don't think any Canadians are gonna be like, I'm really feeling the fucking economic fucking prosperity, baby, or the golden age. You know, your economy is still gonna be garbage because it's capitalism, and that's not good for workers because it exploits them, squeezes them for every penny. And this is basically what Carney is doing, is corporate socialism is what he's doing. He's just doing, hey, corporations of Canada, the 1 to 4 industries, billionaires in Canada, there is a lot of tax dollars to help you cover the initial capital costs at a certain rate. Perhaps it's free, or perhaps there's interest, a low interest rate. But that's all it's going to do. So I get to give my tax dollars to oil companies, car companies, manufacturing companies, telecom companies, shipping companies. Even though that's not a free market, and all these conservatives love the free market. They're like, oh, the free market's great. But it seems like in Canada, nothing builds unless we give billionaires more money. But anyway. Our economy is creating jobs 4 times faster. Our economy is creating jobs at 4 times the rate of the USA. Our exports to non-US markets are on track to double over the next decade. Foreign direct investment in Canada is at its highest levels in 2 decades, running at twice the rate of our nearest G7 competitor. the USA. So this is a huge fuck you USA, which is I think like a lot of it a Western feeling. But here's what I read. Here's my read of this. Economy is creating jobs at 4 times the rate of the USA. The USA is very unstable right now, and Canada is a more reliable investment. And look at the shit like Mitsubishi went through. Exports to non-US markets are on track to double over the next decade. Yeah, what you fucking do. And then what? Oh, foreign investment in Canada. Foreign billionaires buying property in Canada. Nice. Or plants or whatever. It's all great. We're outgrowing the USA. That's big shot. Trump's not gonna like that. No, I don't think so. Anyway, Canada now ranks as the most attractive country in the world for infrastructure investment. Is that true? Our dollar's pretty shit right now. You can squeeze those workers even harder. Canada has what the world wants. We will not allow any nation to determine our future. We will set our own course to keep building Canada strong for all. Prime Minister Mark Jeffrey Carney. I don't know if his real name's Jeffrey. Anyway. See how the libs are reacting. Or the conservatives. Tonight was different. Mark Carney canceled trade negotiations, not Trump. Carney. I just think the USA asked for like he said in his thing, a fucking weird deal. He looked at the final terms, called them unfair and uneconomic, pulled the negotiators home and matched 50% dollar for dollar. This is what sovereignty looks like. This is a prime minister who refused to sign a bad deal just to claim a deal. For days, the radical right was busy profiteering, proliferating. Mark Carney caved. Never count the chickens before they hatch. Thank you, Mark Carney. Canada is now for sale. Yeah. This is stupid. I don't know how, what, like liberals will just fall for anything. A strong, like, it's just like elbows up crowd. The elbows up crowd are feasting. That's what, here's for you. Here. Because basically the argument that I'm gonna be saying is like Doug Ford released that stupid Reagan thing about tariffs and how it hurts the workers, and now we are tariffing the United States, which is gonna just hurt our workers. Sure, it'll save jobs in certain industries, but prices are gonna go up, and prices go up, it affects the economy. Workers are gonna be laid off elsewhere. It doesn't really save workers. It saves certain industry workers. And then other workers are left in the dust, right? I don't know how to. I don't know how to tweet. I don't know how to tweet well. There we go. That's a, you know, that's my banger. That's my banger. And then let's watch what the CNBC has to say.
Through how this deal fell apart tonight.
What the fuck happened?
Well, it happened less than an hour before midnight. U.S. Trade Representative Jamieson Greer was the one to announce the news, saying in his view, the U.S. was offering Canada a great deal, and it was Canada that called things off. He said they were willing to offer some concessions to Canada, including on sectoral tariffs, and he defended the offer that was on the table. Take a listen to what he said.
Canada declined to finalize the trade deal under the terms agreed earlier this week. Despite the U.S. offer to Canada to receive the best treatment of any major exporter to our market, new demands and walkbacks of other commitments by Canada have upended the careful balance reached in the past days.
Yeah, new demands and walkbacks. So the new demands were basically the reason why it fell apart. So the new demands from the Trump admin were just like, Canada's just like, what the fuck, dude? Like, no. Okay, well, bye
Because
then.
no deal was reached, the Trump administration is making good on its threat to add a new bucket of 50% tariffs. They take effect immediately on about $27 billion of Canadian exports, ranging from cement to hockey sticks, and set to hit Ontario, Quebec, and British Columbia hardest. The U.S. threatened those tariffs to try to pressure Canada to put U.S. booze back on their shelves and drop other retaliatory measures. But Greer says that Canada continues to plan to retaliate against the United States.
With all this, Kate, it does look now like things will or could escalate.
Yeah, these talks went right up to the deadline with Canadian negotiators spending most of today at the table. Both sides are blaming each other. Prime Minister Mark Carney said part of it came down to the U.S. making last-minute demands, but Canada does plan to hit back with dollar-for-dollar counter-tariffs. A senior Trump administration official speaking on background said it's up to Canada if it chooses to retaliate, but escalation is a choice and that their sole interest remains protecting American jobs. At the outset of this intensification of talks, Carney said no deal is better than a bad deal, but Canadian negotiators are now...
I like how the Americans are like, tariffing back is an escalation. It's like, okay, but you escalated first. And then Canada was like, let's have like a deal, a relatively nice deal. And then the USA added a bunch of shit at the end, added some stuff at the end, and then Canada's like, no, what about the deal we just had, dude? Okay, well, bye then. We're hitting you back with tariffs. Okay.
Now set to leave Washington without a deal in hand.
All right, Kate McKenna, thanks for all your reporting tonight in Washington. Let's go to Ashley Burke now in Ottawa. Ashley, the Prime Minister's response was swift.
Yeah, Susan, the Prime Minister says that he is striking back since the U.S. is going ahead with these 50% tariffs on almost $28 billion of Canadian exports. Mark Carney says that he will match those tariffs dollar for dollar to hit the U.S. In a statement, the Prime Minister said that Canada has been trying to get at the table, has been trying to get American negotiators to lower Donald Trump's tariffs. They've been hitting some Canadian sectors hard, including aluminum, steel, auto, and lumber. Carney said in a statement that progress had been made during talks, but not enough. And as Kate mentioned, just as the U.S. is blaming the Canadian side, Carney is blaming the U.S. for talks breaking down. In a statement he wrote, I have decided to suspend trade negotiations with the U.S. and have directed Canada's negotiators to return to Ottawa. Last-minute changes in the U.S. proposed terms were unfair, uneconomic, and called into the question the reliability of any deal.
So, how waterproof is the Bearskin Heavy Storm Packable Rain Jacket? Why not?
So, Ashley, Ottawa faced pressure not just.
But I like how it's even in the USA quote, it says new demands were the reason. So it seems like new demands were the reason. I wonder what those demands could be. But like the USA, didn't they do this in the UK deal? They demanded like when that came out, they were like, what? This is like fucking enormous. And the UK was like, whoa, we didn't agree that much.
In Washington, but also domestically. How did that
play
into this breakdown?
Yeah, the Prime Minister had promised that the government wouldn't accept a bad deal and was going to have to sell whatever he signed to Canadians at a time when polling shows there's still a lot of animosity towards the U.S. and not a lot of support for making concessions. Manitoba's premier spoke out, saying that he thought that Canada could push for a better deal. The Prime Minister had asked premiers to put American alcohol back on the shelves, to lock in, to secure an agreement. And Wab Kinew questioned if that would be giving up too much for a deal that accepts that Trump's tariffs are here to stay. Instead of speaking out, Ontario's Premier, Doug Ford, he went silent in recent days. And since the Prime Minister briefed premiers on this possible deal, but he just broke that silence by posting on social media that Team Canada needs to stand together more united than ever before. The Prime Minister has my full support for a strong response, tariff for tariff, dollar for dollar. Now, BC's Premier also posted online that Canada will always defend itself and its politeness should never be mistaken for weakness. Carney says that in the coming days, the government will announce more support for industries hit by Trump's tariffs, and he'll also be facing questions about why the talks broke down and what happens next.
Yes, unclear where all this goes from here. Thank you tonight, Ashley Burke in Ottawa.
Is there a power panel?
Right.
No,
Senior business reporter Peter Armstrong, you've been on the phone taking notes.
What
struck me is that the U.S. got out first and said this was Canada's problem. We offered them something. They didn't take it. They're walking away and the deal's done. Well, not a deal, but the breakdown.
And it's a significant breakdown. The tariffs that Ashley and Kate spoke about, 5% to Canadian exports, it'll shave off about 0.5 point of GDP. That's not the worst of it, though that's going to be bad. And it'll be very bad for the companies that are hitting it, much like the first tranche of tariffs. They won't hit evenly everywhere. Where they hit, though, they will hit very hard. And these were designed, these were purposely chosen to be the specific products that will have the most efficiency in leverage for the United States, pain for the Canadians, without causing too much damage in the United States. Tariffs, of course, will be paid by the American importer, whether it's a business or a household.
And that's going to happen to Canada now.
But the tariffs themselves are only half of the problem. The fact that these talks have now broken off really deepens the uncertainty. It really calls into question what happens next. The senior White House official has said that there's no scheduled meeting. Carney has said he's called his people back. So how do we start to piece this back together? Wars of all kinds, shooting wars and trade wars are very easy to start. They're very hard to stop and to get back under control. The steps that need to be taken to get this back are now much further away. The counter-tariffs that Mark Carney has vowed to go ahead with. A senior administration source has said if Canada retaliates, the president will be given options to level the playing field yet again. So we're into this cycle where Canada will retaliate, the Americans will retaliate to the retaliation, and that can even further erode a very bad situation. I reached out to a senior.
Yeah, the hilariously ironic and sad, pathetic trade negotiation skill that Trump is doing is called essay. He goes, well, let me essay you. It's called Peace Through Strength. He's rebranded it. Peace through strength. Let me just strangle you. And if you be peaceful while I do it and don't retaliate, I might be nice to you again. That's his strategy.
Business leader in Canada tonight to say just how bad is this, and he had sent back one word, very.
Yeah, as you say, and I'm thinking about businesses who are under those tariffs now, as of now, They're facing those new 50% tariffs. What do they do in the coming days with their products?
So a lot of these companies leading up to the Tuesday deadline had already seen the demand for their products dry up. They had spent 2 weeks ago getting stuff out the door as quickly as they could, so it was at least in the United States to ship to customers. They spent the beginning of last week trying to finish that and move on to what are they going to do now. At a 50% tariff, a lot of these companies are simply priced out of the United States. We've seen them putting up notices on their website saying the prices are going to change because of the tariffs, some just removing American ability to order at all.
A market equilibrium.
This is going to be very difficult. There are businesses, to be totally honest, Susan, we've talked to businesses that say they won't survive if this was to go ahead. And now it has gone ahead. And it will get the cycle that this retribution for retribution threatens to take this into an even darker place. The uncertainty, more than the tariffs, the uncertainty was the thing that's really weighed on the Canadian economy over the last 18 months. The uncertainty now is orders of magnitude bigger and more frightening and potentially more damaging.
Very briefly, the political calculus here, I mean, it also has ramped up now.
I mean, I think there will be books written about what has happened tonight. This is an enormously, monumentally important thing that has just happened that will have consequences for many, many years to come. What happened in that room is going to be the subject of a lot of people trying to figure out exactly what went wrong. There will be fingers pointed at who ramped up what and what side was responsible for this. We don't know. And until we know, I think it's better to keep our guessing to ourselves.
Exactly. Peter, thank you so much for everything. So the bottom line here is the tariffs are in place. The talks have broken.
Last-minute negotiations broke down late there and uneconomic. He also vowed to match Trump's crushing tariffs dollar for dollar. Those tariffs took effect.
This is going to be a massive escalation.
After talks collapsed.
From today, 50% tariffs on Canada, car, booze, daily wine. Pay up now.
1 hour or less than 1 hour before that midnight
We're ready.
deadline.
We don't care about you. Illegal tariffs won't stop us. We're doubling our exports outside the United Nations.
And I want to get your take, Mr. Ray, on these developments that many Canadians waking up to this morning. They may be very surprised because it did seem like maybe
basically Canada is ditching Trump.
Were you surprised that a deal was not finalized?
Lots of people, lots of the elbow up crowd is loving this retaliation. To me, all this deal signals is one, prices are going to go up, inflation is going to get worse. Two, corporate socialism, the only way we can actually save your job and produce any projects in Canada is giving all your tax dollars to private and billionaires who already have too much money to keep their business going instead of going to my infrastructure, healthcare, education, etc. So, and the sovereignty notion is also just arms manufacturing, just weapon manufacturing. And then diversification is just sending your job overseas. So hope that helps. Canada, that helps a lot. The United States Trade Representative tonight, Canada declined to finalize the trade deal under the terms agreed earlier this week, despite the U.S. offer to Canada to receive the best treatment of any major exporter to our market. Now new demands and walkbacks of other commitments by Canada have upended the careful balance reached in the past days. In addition, Canada is continuing to maintain its prolonged retaliation against the U.S., including, among other things, flat-out prohibitions on certain American goods and services. For decades, Canada has enjoyed the most favorable access to the U.S. market of any country. What about Mexico, dude? From the beginning of President Trump's trade program, Canada has continued to enjoy the best treatment in the world, even after, like China, retaliating against the United States this week. We retaliated with China. This week, the United States agreed to provide even better treatment to Canada, offering significant tariffs reductions on steel, aluminum, autos, and lumber. Yeah, it seems like the U.S. was willing to reduce the tariffs, and Canada was like, no, I want free trade, homie. I want free trade. The U.S. offer was also forward-looking and included a historic economic and national security partnership to cooperate on export controls. I think that's the Keystone Pipeline. Combat transshipment. What? Huh? Enhanced digital trade and align certain external tariffs. Offer would have led to supply chain coordination on aerospace, complementary actions to address unfair trade practices, critical minerals cooperation, increased enforcements against imports produced with forced labor, and the announcement of formal U.S.-Mexico-Canada agreement, USMCA negotiations. This is a missed opportunity for Canada to partner with the United States, which is the fastest growing economy in the G7. What does Jason Kenney have to say about this? Said no one ever. This might not make me popular, but I remain continuously impressed by Carney. To me, one of the few, if not the only, genuine statesman in the West. It generally takes an incredible balls and statesmanship, especially for Canada, arguably the Westerns, country that's the most dependent on the U.S. to walk away from the table and match Trump's tariffs China style. I think we're just waiting out Trump. I think the world has just decided, let's wait out this Trump thing. See what happens in the future. Europe, with far less dependence on the US and considerably more resources than Canada, just pathetically caved and signed on Trump's humiliating terms when in the same situation. Yeah, but we're landlocked with the United States. It just makes it shittier for like people closer to the border to Canada and businesses there who like ship through. What is this? Congratulations, America, you just tariffed yourselves. This was obviously before Canada imposed its own tariffs, right? All right, well, that's interesting.
Not exactly surprised in the sense that, but we're up to it, and we're dealing with a very unfriendly administration at the moment, to put it mildly. And this is a tyranny that we have to fight. The way they've done this is illegal. It's
tyranny. Well, they are a fascist administration.
It's bad economics. It's bad law, and it's bad relationships. And so we can't just sit back and say, "Go ahead, roll over us." That's not going to happen.
Bob Rae, former Canadian ambassador to the United Nations. Thanks so much for talking to us this morning.
Thank you, Marianne. Good to be with you.
Oh, breaking news.
So crazy.
Come on, you're really going to serve me an ad during the breaking news? Bro, are you trolling? Are you getting trolled right now? Hello? A failure. I don't know what the take is from this deal. I think my take is just that it's more profitable for Canada to walk away from this deal than it is to cave to whatever Trump demands he wants. That's the take. What happened to the breaking news, CBC? Canada's trending.